Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Thoughts. I'm your host, Respawn Granted. As always, my co-host, Real Batman. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. We got an interesting topic to talk about today, and I would like for you to tell everybody what we're talking about.
Well, today I think we're the mafex, SHF, and the biggest differences between them and Marvel Legends and McFarlane's multiverse line. So yeah, that's what we're going to be getting on. And what prompted us to agree to do this this topic on this episode of Collector's Thoughts was just quite simply the annoyance. And we try to keep it, we mix it up, funny, serious when we need to. This is going to have a little bit of everything in it. I'm sick and tired of the bitching about accessories on a $16 to $20 figure. Man, is it getting old. And God forbid if you support this person's channel or persons and have been subscribed to the channel for years, and as long as you agree with everything they say, everything's great. The minute you say, hey, dude, how many accessories do you think you're going to get for 16 to 20 bucks? You got a whole mob jumping down your throat, guy. Like, what is going on? If you want a figure with more accessories, go pay the $100. Don't drive up the prices on the $20 figures for us poor bastards. We can't afford it, right? What's your fault?
That's a very specific example right there. What a coincidence! Jeez, it's almost like you lived the.
I didn't mention any names.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying, very specific, very nail on, right on the head of the nail there. No, but it's true. I mean, you buy a figure 16 to 20 bucks. That figure better not be able to compete with a $60 to $100 figure. If it does, then that $60 to $100 figure should be embarrassed. You know.
Well, that's a very valid point, which takes me to my next point. I watched the review last night before we knew. I had kind of figured. I mean, I sprung it on you today because we had different topics planned, but I watched it last night, and what really prompted me to persuade you to do this one this week was I watched a reviewer, and this guy was legit. I've been following him since the beginning for like 4 to 5 years, and he was honest. He was comparing the mafex Pennywise versus the NECA 2017 Pennywise. And he was having a hard time. You know, he broke it down, the head sculpt, which one has the better head sculpt, which one has the better articulation, the better, paint. And he was, in every single category, he was having a hard time picking a decisive winner. Wow. So when you have a company like NECA who's charging $27, that's what their ultimates go for, $27.99 and up, depending. As opposed to a figure that's $104. The fact that NECA's, he's having a hard time picking it in every single category speaks volumes. And to touch on another point, here's the thing. With the exception of the accessories and the articulation, anybody who has handled, I have a lot of SHF figures and mafex figures and Beast Kingdoms and so on and forth, but we're not talking about Beast Kingdom or anything like that. We're talking about mafex, SHF. And the reason why I picked those two is because those are two companies that make a lot of Marvel and DC, which compete with McFarlane and Hasbro. Just different price points, right? So what are we talking about here? The accessories and the articulation is definitely better and smoother, especially on the SHF. McFarlane, the articulation's not quite there, but he hasn't even had the license for a freaking year yet, so give me a break. And I'm not a fanboy. I want to make that very clear. I've been critical of McFarlane on this channel before. You know what I mean? I've called him out before when he's saying it's a supposed variant and all it is a different weapon. I've called him out as being lazy on that. I've called him out on being lazy in even the multiverse line and rushing the first line that came out at the beginning of this year. So I call him out when it's necessary and when I feel it's fair and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But when you look at the sculpt and the paint on these multiverse figures from Series 1 to now, you can't argue that they haven't improved. They've improved dramatically, and including the articulation. So in terms of sculpt and paint, you can make an argument and compare the McFarlanes to the mafex and the SHF. What do you think?
You know, let's just start off right off the bat where a $20 figure shouldn't even be typically in the same breath as these two juggernaut companies. I think we can both agree on that. When you look at a price point of a figure or a statue or anything like that, there's almost like a tier. You know, you got your top-notch guys, then your not-so-top-notch guys, and so on and so forth. McFarlane should be in almost like a poor man's, mafex figure. You know what I mean? You can't afford the mafex, so you go with McFarlane or the Hasbro Marvel Legends, because you can't afford to get mafex and whatnot. But with what these cheaper figures have been able to do with sculpt, with paint, articulation, like you mentioned, it's pretty impressive. If I was these big guys, I would be a little concerned, because you're out there charging whatever, $80, $100, $110 for this figure. And then you got companies like these other guys that are only charging $20. And I'm not going to say they're breathing down your neck, because I'm willing to bet there's a lot of people that are going to say you're crazy. You know, this one has this and that. And I get that. But just the fact that they even being mentioned in the same breath as some of these big guys shows you how good these smaller companies are. I hate saying smaller companies, but you know what I mean, like the smaller price points. Like typically $20, that's like a kid's toy price. You know what I mean? That should be like one of those where you look at it and you go, oh, it kind of sucks, but it's $20. You get what you get. No, a lot of these figures can step in the ring with these $100 figures. And then for a lot of people, you're going to look at that and say, well, is it really justifying paying that extra $60 to $80 for that? And to touch on what you were saying with the accessories, these other guys better have a ton of accessories. They better, because companies like you mentioned, NECA, who does fantastic sculpt work, they're going to give companies like that, like a mafex, a run. So if you're going to charge me $100 for a figure, and then I can get a $30 figure, and you can compete, dude, you better have a ton of accessories to warrant that extra money. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and going back to how we started off this episode was, I'm not going to mention the channel. It was like a mob attack. And all I said was, hey, look, you're being a little bit harsh. It's a $20 figure. How many extra set of hands and accessories do you expect this figure to come with? Just remember what you were getting with Mattel, which here we are. I'm bringing up Mattel again on the channel. So you get the
shots. Bring the shots.
But it's true, though. Seriously, just remember what you were getting with Mattel. And it was like, it was a mob, dude. It's like, wait a minute. I didn't attack you.
Yeah.
I just stated a personal opinion. And quite frankly, you can argue that it's a fact. McFarlane's are running, I've been getting some of these for $16 at Walmart. So that's not even $20. And then their argument was, well, look at what you get with NECA. Well, NECA's not McFarlane's price point either. That's not a valid argument. No. So you're running around like a dog in circles chasing your tail, and you're not coming at me with anything that makes any sense. Then this same reviewer who usually trashes Marvel Legends because of lack of accessories or consistency for lack of accessories, now all of a sudden he's a Marvel Legends fan. No, you're just a McFarlane hater. I'm not a McFarlane fanboy. I call him out when it's necessary, and I praise him when I feel it's warranted. Look at the sculpted paint you're getting for $16 to $20. Give me a break. The fact that you're watching, because McFarlane's sculpted paint is right there with NECA. NECA's maybe a slightly hair better, but they're close. To that you can compare the sculpted paint. You can compare McFarlane and what he's doing with the multiverse line and NECA. NECA might be a shade better, but you're also paying a little bit more, so they better be better in every area. But the fact that even you could take NECA and take the penny wise from NECA and have a reviewer have a hard time pick a clear winner, and it's 27 as opposed to 100. Come on, like, and here's the other thing too. For the ones that attacked me on that channel and whatever, they were saying that I was mad. I wasn't mad. I was laughing at them the whole time. They were like dogs chasing their tail. They didn't come at me with any facts. For those of you who say, look, it's a valid argument if you sit there and say, okay, he comes with one gun and two trigger hands. McFarlane, give one trigger hand and a relaxed hand or a fist. That's a valid criticism. The articulation joints that he uses, the ratchet joints, the settings are too far apart. And sometimes they can be a pain in the ass to stand because of that, especially in the foot articulation. The ratchet joints are so far apart. You need to have the settings closer together. That's a valid criticism. For crying out loud, accessories? Oh, don't use an excuse that it's a $20 figure. Actually, I'm going to use that excuse because here's what's going to happen. Eventually, and you're starting to see Hasbro already start to do it with these deluxe figures. They're giving people more accessories, and if they start to sell well, they'll eventually veer off the $20 figures and go to all deluxe figures. Now there's no more $20 Marvel Legends. Now you're going to be stuck with paying $30 and up. And not everybody can afford that. So when I say things like that to other people's channels, it's not attacking them. I'm thinking about every other collector that can't afford the mafex and the SHFs, that heavily rely on these Marvel Legend $20 price point figures. And I'll tell you what, we keep talking about McFarlane. Let's talk about Marvel Legends. The last few years, 2 to 3 years, they're killing it. At their price point, you can take a Wolverine Marvel Legends and you can sit here and make an argument with Mafex's recent release of their Wolverine figure at a fraction of the cost.
And the thing is, to touch on what you were saying, I don't understand how someone could say, don't bring the price point into the argument. Well, what do you mean? Don't bring the price point into that's probably the reason why we don't have more accessories for that figure. That's probably the exact reason, because it's going to cost the company more money to make more accessories. It seems pretty logical to me. I mean, if McFarlane was to charge $30, $40, or $50, you don't think there'd be more accessories with those figures? Of course there would be. I feel like he would. I feel like you're already getting, what are they, 7-inch scale figures, right? He makes 7-inch, doesn't he? Okay, so he's making already a bigger figure. The like we talked about, the paint, the sculpt, it's really good. He's only charging $20, and Walmart's even cheaper. He's hitting all kinds of different versions of characters and different, just like different people in general that we haven't really seen much of. He's tackling them right away in his first year. He's not just playing it safe in his first year. He's legitimately going after like Batman Who Laughs and the Robins that are like Joker Robins and stuff like that. Like, he's going right after all that stuff. He's not holding back. He's not playing it safe for the first year and then experimenting. He's going right for it. And then, I mean, he's giving you, at least I'm trying to think of all the ones that I personally have. There's usually hands and like a weapon or something. I mean, dude, it's $20. You get a big figure that's nicely done. You're getting the extra hands and a weapon. I mean, that's typical in that price point. I mean, I've never seen any action figures that were like $20 that come with a whole boatload of stuff and, you know, a bunch of accessories and stuff at that $20 price point. Because like you said, NECA is charging more. Yes, NECA comes with a lot of stuff, but it's also about $10 more. So if McFarlane was to charge $10 more, maybe there would be a lot more stuff. But the problem is, like you were saying, not all of us can afford to do that. He's not releasing one figure every few months. It's usually a few of them. So now that $20 turns into $30 or $40. Now, God forbid if that happens, because now you know that the complaints are going to be, oh, we have accessories, but of course McFarlane raised the price. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how the whole business works. He's not going to lose money just to make Joe Schmo on the internet happy. He's not doing it, man. You know what I'm saying? It's. I mean, to me, the bigger argument would be if you pay $60, $70, $80 and you don't get like you get like two hands and like a weapon. Then I'd be pissed. I'd be like, what the hell, man? I'm paying all this money. I'm not getting any accessories. Then you have an argument. But $20 and you only getting like two accessories? Come on, man. It is what it is, dude. I don't see that as a big deal personally.
I agree. Here's the thing, like content creators, that's what we are. We have a channel. We're content creators. You got to try to be as down the middle as you can. Like, even if you're impartial to a company, when you come on and you do a review or you're talking about a company, you know, if they're doing something wrong, you got to call them out when they're doing something wrong. When they're doing something right, you give them credit when they're doing something right. You can't be impartial or one way or the other. You got to be down the middle, because there's a lot of people that come on here and they're usually on the fence, and that's why they look up certain figures in reviews, and they look to content creators on this platform on whether they should get the figure or not. So when you're sitting there trashing a company based on the amount of accessories, you're kind of, in my opinion, misleading them on the quality of the product itself, just because you're not getting accessories. And these are the same people that when they review SHF and mafex, even with those, they sometimes complain about accessories. So here's the way I look at it. If you get a death stroke from McFarlane and you're not happy with the fact that the guns are molded into the holsters, and I know that, like myself, I have a ton of mafex, I have a ton of mescos, I have a ton of SHF. Go into the drawer of your shit ton of accessories and pull out a gun that looks like it would go with Deathstroke and just review the figure. The price point of the figure that you're reviewing is what it is. And if you look at what you were getting with Mattel, and years ago, when Hasbro started off with the Legends line, when they took it over from Toy Biz, I believe it was.
I think it was, yeah.
It's improved dramatically, and at the same price point. So what are we talking about here? You get better sculpt with McFarlane, better paint. You're getting better articulation than what you got with Mattel by far, and you're getting more accessories. Yes, these are also the same people that said that the collector's card, they don't consider it an accessory. Well, then what the hell is it?
Right. So I mean,
So because you don't like collector's cards, you're going to speak for everybody? See, here's the thing. There's certain people on this platform, and they're entitled to their opinion. When they get to a certain level, they feel like they can speak no wrong, and when they speak for everyone. And there's a certain level of arrogance that I know that we've had this conversation. We don't know where this channel is going to go. It could become very big or bigger than this particular reviewer I'm talking about, or it may never amount to much at all. But here's the one thing that will never change. And I know you, because we're family, we've known each other our whole lives. We're passionate about this. We love it.
Right.
And we're never going to forget that, regardless of the success of this channel or lack thereof. And we're always going to be, look no further than episode 1 of Collector's Thoughts on this channel. We're huge NECA fans. We railroaded NECA on that episode because it was deserved.
Right.
Then we gave them credit when they started to address the problems. Right. That's what we do as content creators. You point out the pros and you point out the cons. I feel like when you're a pretty big YouTuber, and this guy's a pretty big YouTuber, you have a little bit of, you got some pull, and he knows it, and so does his clan. McFarlane is eventually going to add accessories, and he's going to raise the price point, and then people are going to be upset because the price went up. And the same people that are praising NECA, saying, hey, look, we get extra hands, they'll look for something else to pick on for McFarlane, because for every person out there that likes Marvel Legends, and jumping onto the Marvel Legends, there's a lot of people out there, man, that will absolutely annihilate Hasbro and what they're doing. And I'm going to say it again, the last 2 to 3 years, Hasbro's been kicking ass and taking names later. You know they're going to be limited on accessories because of the price point, but the figures themselves have improved also dramatically. And it doesn't matter what they do. There's certain YouTubers on this platform that are going to trash Hasbro, and they're going to trash McFarlane. Let's not forget, McFarlane's new to the articulation business. He's been stubborn. If there's another fair criticism, the guy is definitely stubborn, but he's relatively new to the articulation business. So he got into it a little late. When you look at what he's done with this line, the multiverse line, in less than a year, leaps and bounds. Now let's get back to mafex here for a minute. mafex, I have a lot of their figures. I like a lot of them, but I also can't stand the fact that they fall apart in your hands when you articulate them, right? So, and these are $100 figures. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because these same idiots who call me a fanboy for saying it's a $20 figure will sit there and defend mafex and say, or SHF and say, and I will say this before I get into my point, SHF is not known so much for QC problems. mafex is known more for that. But these same people say, well, I've been collecting SHF for 10 years. They don't fall apart in your hands. I could prove you wrong right now. I have an SHF Homecoming Spider-Man, the first release that they did. There's a reason why I don't mess with the torso, because that figure has a tendency for the torso to snap in half. So don't tell me that SHF don't fall apart in your hands. They're not as bad as mafex. mafex definitely has more QC issues, but don't tell me that SHF, and listen, let's not sugarcoat this. At that price point, and you're definitely not new to the articulation business, if you're mafex, your figures shouldn't be freaking falling apart at $100 a pop. SHF, your waists shouldn't be snapping in half at about $100 a pop. So if you're going to sit here and criticize McFarlane for not giving enough accessories, then play it down the middle and say, you know what, mafex, you're not new to the articulation business. I shouldn't have to articulate if I like the Pennywise, that Pennywise figure. If that reviewer, if he went above 35 degrees up, the arm popped out of the socket.
That's unacceptable.
Now, listen, I'm not a mafex hater. If anybody's familiar with my channel and has seen even on this channel when I've shot upstairs in my collection room, you know I have a ton of mafex figures. Okay, so I'm not a mafex hater. I'm not an SHF hater. But I'm just speaking the truth. And isn't that what we're supposed to be doing as content creators? Calling it right down the middle? If you're going to call out McFarlane for their problems, call out mafex for theirs. Call out SHF for theirs. Yeah, they come with a ton of accessories. But yes, they have QC issues. SHF, not so bad. SHF is definitely a more durable figure, and I definitely trust them more. But mafex, and even SHF, like, look, you're paying a lot more for these figures. You better get more. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a lot I want to kind of touch on because you kind of hit a lot of different points. The first one is, let's just start with the content creator thing. Last time I checked, none of us work for these companies. I don't know why people have this undying loyalty to a certain brand over another. Me and you will call it as we see it. We love certain companies, but we also don't hate other companies. And even the ones we love, like you mentioned, the NECA. I have a bunch of NECA stuff. I love the NECA company. I love what they do. I love their product. They're not perfect. We have ripped them a new one before because of their mistakes and their faults. And we've also praised them along with other companies. We don't work for any of these people. So what do I care if I'm going to be honest with you guys and say, you know, this figure's good, but this one sucks because they did this, this, and that. It's the way it is. People want to hear the truth, your honest opinion about something. They don't care. They don't care if you have a dying allegiance to a certain company. They don't give a damn. They want the truth. Is this a good product for its price or not? So that's the first thing I want to say is I never understood why content creators have like a worship towards certain companies over others. I don't get it. Maybe they don't get free stuff from that other company. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Nice.
Dude, it could be, man. Maybe one company sends more free stuff than the other one. I don't know. It just never made sense to me, though. I mean, if you like the product, just be honest. You like the product. If you don't like it and you're biased, be honest. Just say right from the beginning, I'm going to be harsh on this piece because I don't tend to like what they do. There you go. Then whoever watches your content already knows how you feel about that piece, and they can take it with a grain of salt that you're going to be a little more biased one way or another. Second thing, the last time I checked, I can't walk into a Walmart or a Target or anything like that and find mafex or SHF. Right? Let's just be honest. You can find Hasbro and you can find McFarlane. Now, the big reason why you find those there is because of that $20 price point. They're making stuff that they know will show up on shelves in these big companies. So these big companies have a big part of what these other companies can do. Because if Hasbro or McFarlane or whatever, I'm sure if they really wanted to, they could bring a ton of accessories and charge $60, $70, $80 too. But you're not going to see those at Target or Walmart. Especially freaking Walmart. I guarantee you that much. You're not going to find it there. So if you want to make sales, you want to appease these companies, you want to try to get your product out there, you got to do more or less what they're asking of you. So if they say, hey, can you please keep it under $20 or under $30? Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening, but I'm just saying it is kind of weird that you don't see these big, expensive companies in places like that. But you will find McFarlane and you will find Hasbro because they're under that price point. They appeal to collectors and kids alike, and they will sell. The accessory thing, I'll be straight up honest. Maybe I'm a little biased because I don't care about accessories that much. I really don't. If I have a figure with like one extra head and like an extra pair of hands, I'm already like, hey, that's great. That's awesome. Once you start throwing like 7 different heads at me and like 20 arms, and that crap stays in the box, dude. I don't need all that. It just stays in the box. I don't give a damn. So if you give me the choice, like mafex, okay, mafex and SHF, since we're talking about those two companies in particular, their price point. If you were given an option to take away the accessories and get a different price on those figures, how much cheaper would they be?
There still is a difference when you handle an SHF, and there are mafex figures that don't have a ton of QC issues. The articulation is a lot smoother. It's a lot easier to position that figure into a stance or however you want the figure to be. Even just to get the figure in an upright stance, straight stance, it's just a lot smoother. It's a lot less frustrating to position those figures in whatever pose you want. And the articulation is just smooth, and there is a better, as good as NECA is and McFarlane at the sculpt. Yes, the edge will still go to those companies, even if you strip down the accessories in terms of articulation and even sculpt and paint. But does the price drop? Of course it does. It would probably be what Super 7 charges, like the $40. I would say between 40 and 50.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. But my whole point was that if the accessories raise the price, so if McFarlane was to add more accessories to a piece of people, the price is going to go up. That's kind of what I was trying to get at, is that the price will go up if you want more accessories. But now they're going to complain that the figure doesn't justify the price because now the price is going up, and this isn't what some of these other companies are doing, so it shouldn't be charged that much. You're not going to get the accessories for free. You're just not. Bottom line. I don't care who you are. You're not getting them for free. The other thing, too, is it kind of goes based on what your target audience is, too. Like, if you look at a company like mafex and SHF, they're not targeting the average person. They're not targeting children. God knows they're not. They're definitely not children. They're definitely not. No. Especially since I'm not a huge fan of these companies. Like, I don't own any of their products. I don't believe in me personally spending that kind of money for that. Because the way I look at it is once you start getting into a certain price point, I'd rather just buy a statue. That's my own personal preference. We did have a funny video about statues versus figures. So you guys can check that out if you'd like. But that's just my own personal thing. I rather once you start going over a certain amount of dollars, I rather just put it towards a statue. But my point is that you look at like McFarlane and Marvel Legends, they're trying to get everybody, the hardcore collector down to the casual collector, down all the way down to children. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of you look at the packaging, you'll say like 8+ or whatever. They want to be able to make that little kid or that adult happy and content with what they're getting. So that's why that price point matches. That's why you don't need a ton of accessories. It's just not necessary. I mean, you have kids. Do you know what happens to accessories when kids get a hold of that crap? It ends up everywhere, man. What do they need that for? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of another thing that these companies look at. I want to target kids to adults, everybody. So that little 8-year-old Johnny does not need 20 different hands. He doesn't need it, man. So if you're the guy that wants 20 hands and 100 pistols and whatever, stick with the expensive guys then, because that's who they're targeting. They're targeting you. They want you to spend that big crazy money to get 150 hands and 30 pistols and 20 whips and all that. They want you to have it. They don't want the kids to have it. So to me, this is not even really a fair discussion, because you look at the quality you're getting for that $20 price point. I think these companies are doing fantastic. I think they're doing great work. Like recently, I had the privilege of finding what is it? Not Devastator. Is it Devastator? No, Devastator. Okay, I don't know why I was blanking on him. Dude, that figure was heavy. He had some bulk to him. He filled up the entire package. That does not feel like a cheesy $5 or $10 toy. No way in hell. That feels like a good weighted figure and sculpted really well. McFarlane did a good job sculpting that and painting that thing. That thing looked badass. And he even said in an interview that he wants to make figures and toys that when people of all ages walk through the aisle and look at it and say, that's a cool toy, I want to see that set up on my shelf. That's what he's going for. These other companies are going for the diehard people. That's why they're adding all this stuff, and that's why they're charging it. And it kind of gets to a point almost where some of these more expensive big guys, like you said, they have quality control issues. If I'm paying $100 for an action figure, that better not have quality control problems there. I want a good figure for that price. That's a lot of money, man, for an action figure. That thing cannot be falling apart or I go to give him a split and his leg breaks off. Like, come on, man. That's ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. That's unexcusable to me at that price point. Once you get to a certain price, not only you have all these accessories and not only is your quality, the sculpt and paint fantastic, but this is an action figure. This is a figure that people a lot of times pose. Shouldn't it pose correctly too? I mean, that's kind of in the job description, isn't it?
One would think.
One would think. That's ridiculous, dude. I'm sorry. After a certain price point, that is unexcusable, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion.
But here's the thing. They will make excuses. That same reviewer will make, and others will make excuses for the mafex. Well, that's typical mafex. If you're not too careful with them, it gets to a point where when you do an X amount of figure photography with this figure, it ain't gonna hold a pose anymore. So you're excusing the figure that it won't hold a pose if you work the figure a little bit more, but that's okay at $100. A $20 figure that's gonna hold a pose, that has good weight to it, that once you take it out of the package, you put it on the shelf, it don't look like a $20 figure. It looks like a $40 or $50 figure. You're going to complain because it doesn't have an extra 2 or 3 sets of hands and more pistols. Here's the thing, okay? You're more of a statue guy, boring, whatever. Go back to that episode where we debate that. But here's the thing. No, seriously, on a serious note, though. I do have those figures, okay? And I do enjoy them. But I also realize the flaws and the pros and the cons in those lines as well. And I completely agree with you. And that's something I've said for years. For $100, you better stop with this QC shit, especially if you're mafex. They average $95 a pop. The fact that the arm, now granted, the arm doesn't break, it pops out and it pops right back in. But if you do that an X amount of times, it ain't gonna hold. The arm becomes loose, it just falls because you keep popping it and popping it back in. So it's not exactly the best plastic, right? So, and I have a lot of these figures. So, but I don't do figure photography. So my figures are overall in excellent shape, even the mafex ones, because I don't change the poses. I don't have the room for it. I can't have figures with all these dynamic poses. I don't have the space for it. Plus, I like to keep my figures nice and tight and fresh and new, just in case I decide I don't want them anymore, and I decide to either pass them on to my son or sell some of them.
Or upgrade the statues.
No, it's never going to happen. Upgrade, that's a downgrade. But anyway, but seriously though, like, there's a market, like you said, out there for everybody, right? So, and I think that what Hasbro and McFarlane is doing, they're targeting the collector, the average person who's probably going to Walmart to get a PS5 game and happens to come across some of the, McFarlane figures that are in the video game section, whether it's, the Mortal Kombat figures, and they go, oh, that's a pretty cool, Spawn figure, and they pick it up. So it's smart, but it's going to be limited accessories. But here's the thing, you are getting limited accessories with Mattel. And when it comes to the McFarlane thing, this has been the frustrating part since this guy got the license, and he hasn't even had it for a year. First, it was controversial decisions because of the scale of the figure. Turns out it wasn't even his decision. So now they can't harp on, jump all over him because of that. Now the first wave was rushed, which even I had said he rushed it a little bit. Even he admitted it was rushed a little bit. So now that's out of the way. The line is improving. The articulation is improving. The sculpt is improving. There's nothing left. So now they're going to say, well, trading cards not considered an accessory. Then what the hell is it, douchebag? If you're going to sit there and compare NECA, who doesn't include a peg stand, you have to buy their stand separate, right? And they're a higher price point, and he's including the peg stand with a DC logo on it, and you're saying, I don't really know if I consider that an accessory either. Well, now you're not being biased. You're just being a hater. So I'm not a fanboy. You're just a hater. So if you're going to do that and you're going to review, like you said before, and I don't want to keep going on this negativity crap, so I'm going to end it with this from my end. If you don't like McFarlane toys and you happen to come across a figure and you decide you want to review it, just put, hey, before I get into this review, I'm not, I really don't typically like McFarlane figures. I decided to pick up this guy and review it, but I really don't like McFarlane, so don't expect to get really great grades from me. But take that with a grain of salt, like you said. So that way the person who's on the fence about that particular figure knows that when he's done with your review, I'm going to go watch somebody else's review who's not biased in either direction. Because for me, this is the two things that I'm gonna get. I got out of that dialogue back and forth, which it wasn't really too heated. It just felt like it was a cult of people ganging up on me just because I pointed out the obvious, which we've been talking about in this video. You try to compare apples and oranges, and it doesn't work. What I'm worried about is they'll increase the accessories and increase the price point, and I don't want the price point to increase. That's just my opinion. And B, I don't want that many accessories. If I want more accessories, I'll go get the SHF, or I'll go get the mafex, right, or the Mescos, or whatever. And if the Deathstroke doesn't come with enough accessories, go through your abundance of accessories from the higher end shit that you got in your drawer, and I'm pretty sure you can find a gun for that. But review the figure and review the figure first, because that's what I do. That's what we do. Look, it's a $20 figure. Accessories are going to be limited, but the figure itself, it's there. The quality's there. The improvement's there. They keep getting better. Same thing with Marvel Legends. And and I've seen other reviewers do it. actually held, certain Marvel Legends and held it up against an SHF or a mafex, which made the same figure from the same movie or whatever, whether it's, the MCU or whatever, and they're comparable. Yeah, is the mafex SHF, is the detail and the sculpt and the articulation better? Well, yeah, it better be at that price point. But the fact that Marvel Legends is even holding its own with the sculpt and even articulation a little bit speaks volumes. And same thing with McFarlane. And I'm going to end it with that, man.
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm saying, is that for that price point, they better be better, because people aren't going to. Why would you pay that extra money? And then going back to what you had said about the accessories, I'm sorry, but a card in a stand is an accessory. It's not attached to the figure. It's not part of the figure. It's an extra thing that's put into the box. Just because you might not like cards or someone doesn't like cards doesn't mean everybody feels that way. Me personally, I kind of like the cards that McFarlane comes with. I don't have any problem with them. I think they're cool. And I look at them as an accessory. The stands, I mean, it's something that not every figure comes with. That's something that, like you said, NECA, you have to buy it separately. And other companies don't come with them at all. So that's an accessory, because it's something that doesn't have to come with a figure that he's including to help you stand that figure up. To me, it's an accessory. So I don't know. But I don't know what category you put it under then. If it's not an accessory, I have no idea what category that falls under. I mean, it's not attached to the figure. It's not paint. It's not sculpt. So I don't know. But that's how I feel about those two things. And the other thing too is like you kind of touched on too, was if you don't like a certain company, first of all, you probably shouldn't be reviewing the product anyway, because you're going to already have that bias towards it. But if you still want to, like we both had mentioned, just be honest, man. Straight up be like, you know what? I hate this company, but this figure looked kind of cool. I wanted to try it out. And the other thing too, McFarlane and Marvel Legends are brilliant for what they're doing. Because take somebody like me. I'm not a big action figure guy. Do I have them? Yes, I do. I enjoy my figures, and I enjoy the ones I have. But you look at my collection, besides some of the quarter scales and stuff I have, most of my stuff does not go over that $20 to $30 range. It doesn't. I'm not one of those guys that you're not going to find mafex in my collection. You're not going to find SHF in my collection. I don't have that stuff. So you look at a company like McFarlane and Marvel Legends, they're targeting people like me, where I'll walk through the store, and I've actually picked up a couple Hasbro Legends for my son. He actually had them before I even did, because he fell in love with them. He thought they were cool. I didn't care for them, but I bought it for him. And as I watched him play with it, I was like, those are actually kind of cool. So then I started to like them. And like the way you just explained that situation of someone walking through the store, that's exactly how it happens. Sometimes I'll walk through a store, Target or Walmart, and I'll see one hanging there, and I'm like, that's kind of cool, man. I'll grab it. $20, why not? You put that same figure there for $50 or $60, I'm not grabbing it, dude. I'm telling you that right now.
Let me ask you a question really quick.
Sure.
Even at the $30 price point, you're going to hesitate more, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if I'm paying $30 to get 500 hands and 700 pistols. I don't need it, dude.
So, and that was my whole point when I made that comment. It wasn't to really attack him. I was thinking about all the average collectors out there that don't want to pay $90 or $70 or $80. They just want a cool figure that looks cool on the shelf, and they don't want to break the bank to get it. Right. That's all I'm trying to say here. Is listen, there's pros and cons with any company, whether it's mafex, whether it's NECA, whether it's McFarlane, whether it's SHF, Beast Kingdom, Mesco. I can keep going. Hot Toys, it don't matter. There's pros and cons with every company. Call it down the middle. Be a real content creator, and when somebody disagrees with you and is not blasting you or is not being rude in any way, they're just saying, how many accessories do you think you're going to get for $16 to $20? It's a valid argument. Don't poop all over that person for speaking their mind, because listen, I've seen content creators who've been on here for a long time who are once up here and they're slowly dropping because of that arrogance. Yeah. So do yourselves a favor. Never forget where you came from. Keep the passion. keep collecting, keep it real when you're a content creator, be honest about the product that you're reviewing, keep other people who are on the fence on these figures, whatever company it is that you're reviewing, who are on the fence, give them the best information possible that you can give them. That's what we do as content creators. Don't be impartial in either direction. Be as neutral as possible. That's what I got to say about that. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add on that.
Yeah, I just want to add one other thing kind of quick is that like even on this channel, I've done it many times with statues. I open up the statue and in my mind, I already know how much I paid for it and what price point it falls under. I cannot open a $40 Diamond Select and expect it to be XM Studios. You can't do that. Price point is a valid point. It's a very valid point. If you go and open up a Diamond Select for $40 and you see a blemish here and there, that's part of that price point. That's expected in that range. You open up an XM Studios for $600, $700 and you find a blemish, that's a little unacceptable. So price absolutely is a valid excuse. I don't know who told you that it's not a valid excuse. It's a valid excuse because it
was a bunch of people.
It doesn't make sense though. It's just like buying a car. I'm not going to buy a little Toyota and expect it to be a Dodge Viper, dude. It just doesn't work that way. Of course, price point is a valid excuse. Like I said, I do it all the time on this channel. I open up a statue and I'll be like, oh, there's a blemish here, a blemish here. But at that $30 to $40, $50 range, it happens, no big deal. Some of my more expensive stuff, I haven't found the same problems because I'm paying more than double the price. They better not be there. If they are, I'm going to say something. I don't care what company it is. I'm going to put them on blast and say this is unacceptable for that type of price. So it's the same thing with figures. If I ever buy a $100 figure and that stupid thing falls apart on me because I'm positioning it, not throwing it across the wall or something, that's unacceptable, man. And it's just pathetic, in my opinion, that these people that you've talked to can somehow not let a pass go on a $20 figure, but they can let a pass go on a $100 figure. You would think you'd be more tougher on the $100 figure, not the $20 figure. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, I don't know, man.
Who was the boy in that argument?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it,
who was the boy? It's crazy. It's crazy. Call it down the middle. As content creators, that's what we're here to do. Definitely. We're here to be. Yes, it's our personal opinion. Some of it is not factual, but some of it very much is. So at a $20 price point for the figures that you're getting from McFarlane and Marvel Legends, how they've improved, you're not going to get a ton of accessories. Just be happy that the figures themselves have improved because they have. Right. So that's what I'm going to say about that. And I'm going to end it off at that because we don't want this to run like an hour long. Yeah. But there's a lot of meat on this bone, and we could sit here for easily over an hour and do this. Yeah. But it's a topic that I felt like we needed to cover. I really think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is, too, this is a topic that we definitely want to hear from you guys. Let us know down below. You know what I mean? Tell us, do you have any of these companies we're talking about? Are you a fan? Do you hate them? Whatever. Are we stupid? Are we right? Let us know. Talk to us. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, too, is I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Like, we have a lot of fun doing these videos. I hope you guys have a lot of fun watching these videos. Just please like, comment, subscribe, and and just remember, action figures have the stands that cup the balls, and statues don't, guys. So.
Oh, that's not cool, man.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.
It's the statue shadow and the ball.
Stay safe.